A presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Florida.
Lately, Miami has not been a happy place for the Fish. The Marlins' worst home start in over 20 years. Today is a new day. Will it be a different day? Jose days usually are. But he has to deal with the MVP. A red-hot Bryce Harper walks into Marlins Park. Marlins and Nationals open a four-gamer tonight. Well, if it is a new day in Miami, it's a gorgeous one. The weather in South Florida has been outstanding as the Marlins and the Nationals open up a four-gamer, opposite ends of the spectrum. Nationals, one of the hottest in baseball at 9-2. The Fish, with just their 3 wins. Yes, Bryce Harper is in the park. The Marlins hoping to get off to a good start tonight on a Jose day, as Jose Fernandez will be dealing against Tanner Roark. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz, joined tonight by Jeff Conan. How do you, as a ball player, and you were there many times, erase what happened this weekend? A winless Atlanta team comes in, and the Marlins got swept.
Well, I think sometimes when you've got a team like that has been so poor at the beginning of the season, 0-9, you might take them a little bit too lightly, but they are still a major league team. Atlanta Braves played very well this weekend. The Marlins did not, end up losing 3 straight games. All
right, here's a barometer for the team. Not wins and losses, but statistically. As you look at it, what do you like? What needs improving?
Well, what you don't like, you look at the starters' ERA, and 5.47 is not great, but the other side of that is they're not going deep into games. So while you like the bullpen ERA at number 5, that's going to go up if they don't start going deeper into games. And home runs, 14th in the National League, only 6 home runs the Marlins have hit. I'm not too worried about that. You've got Giancarlo Stanton, who's very in a funk right now. Justin Bour's going to hit some home runs. I think Marcell Ozuna's get some home runs, so those numbers are going to go up.
The opposite of funk is Harper, because he's not anywhere near a funk. Bryce Harper has hit homers in 4 consecutive games. The MVP of last year, right now, numerically, is topping what he did last season.
Yeah, he's only got like a 1350 OPS right now. 4 straight games with home runs. National League Player of the Week. You see the numbers he's putting up already, and this guy's only getting better, like you said. All of his numbers are trending upwards. He's swinging at less pitches out of the strike zone. He's making better contact. He's walking more. And you know what? It's only getting more and more confidence. So he's going to be tough on the National League East.
What would you like to see more from Jose Fernandez tonight in start number 3?
I would love to see more fastball command. I think the last start we saw in New York, he did not have a good command of his fastball, which kind of affects every other pitch that he has. So for Jose to be effective, that 95 on the black, that's what I want to see.
All right, well, we'll see if that's what you get. Bryce Harper goes for 5 straight games with a home run. The Marlins go for a win and try to open up this 4-gamer on the right foot. Jeep is the presenting sponsor of Marlins baseball. Jose Fernandez, start number 3. Nationals and Marlins out to center field. Carl Pavano tonight joins Craig Minervini. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Richard, and hi again, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about Bryce Harper and also Jose Fernandez facing him. First, Jose knows his team has lost 4 games in a row.
Oh, and he's the stopper. You got to want to be that guy, and he likes that attention. He's going to go out there and give it his all tonight, and he's the guy you want on that mound.
Now, he's going to face Bryce Harper in a very good lineup, but Harper is about as hot as anybody with the long ball. He's homered in 4 straight games. How do you approach a hitter like this? Is there anywhere where you can beat him?
Well, first of all, you got to be aggressive, not give him too much credit. But he does hit mistakes. You got to change speeds with him. You know, for me, that timing, all his mechanisms is trying to get those off. You're not going to strike him out every time. You just want him to miss-hit it. He hasn't done that a lot lately,
No,
miss-hit it. But you want to get him out on his front foot and not let him square up the ball. And that's the question. Can you do that?
And he'll take a walk, too, if he has to.
Will.
He's got
Yes,
the great eye. Is there anybody that you could think of that you faced from either left or right side?
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's guys, but, you know, if you gave me like maybe a 5-minute head start on that, I might have something for you, Craig.
Maybe the post-game show, we can get him on that. How about
definitely
that?
by the post-game.
All right, the dapper Carl Pavano here, looking good, and we are ready for some baseball. Good matchup here. Nationals hot. They did lose yesterday, but they are 9-2 in the year. Marlins trying to get off the schneid here with Jose, and we got the action coming up next. Fox Sports Florida.
Brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Bank United. Switch to Bank United today. Visit us at bankunited.com or call 877-779-2265. By your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Gorgeous look at downtown Miami. And in Marlins Park, Jose Fernandez is on his way out, looking for his first win of the season, looking to snap a 4-game skid and give the Marlins their first home win of the year. UHealth Sports Medicine brings you the Nationals lineup. Michael Taylor, a Fort Lauderdale kid. Anthony Rendon's at third. Bryce Harper, co-player of the week in the National League. Ryan Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy is red hot. On-base percentage leader in the National League. Jason Worth, a slow start. Wilson Ramos, dangerous in the 7th spot. Danny Espinosa has been very good defensively at short. Tanner Roark, whom the Marlins saw and beat up in D.C., gets the start. And here is Michael Taylor. Jose with a fastball that misses up, and it's 1-0. Pinch Penny brings you that first pitch. Fernandez, Michael Taylor with Rendon and Harper to follow. That misses as well. It's 2-0.
We talk about a 9-2 Nationals team, and one of the reasons they're doing it, they've got 3 of the top 6 hitters in the National League right now as far as average is concerned.
Jose comes out and goes 3-0 to Taylor. Taylor would not be in that group at 146, but he's in there right now for his defense and because Ben Revere pulled a muscle in his rib cage and has been on the disabled list since opening night.
And those take quite a while to right themselves, so we might see Mr. Taylor in this lineup for quite some time.
95 miles an hour, the fastball. Jeff Conine pointing out the outset of our show. Fastball command, something to watch for Jose Fernandez tonight. His 3-2 coming.
And that's normally not something that we have to talk about with Jose Fernandez. Normally fastball command is some of the best in the National League, especially here at home. He just suffered his first loss last time out, but Juan Nieves, I know, was talking with him on trying to get that fastball back in the strike zone effectively.
Out of the strike zone is that one. And so a leadoff walk. Taylor's got wheels, and he is aboard. Miami's defense brought to you by Southwest Airlines.
Let's go through the outfield. We got Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton, Justin Bour, D. Gordon, Echeverria, Martin Prado, and the battery, JT Realmuto and Jose Fernandez.
Anthony Rendon, who had a terrific year in 2014. Last year, a variety of injuries, and the Nationals are hoping he gets back to where he was 2 years ago. Rendon has driven in just a run. He hasn't homered yet this year, but a solid right-hand bat. Dusty Baker very pleased with his defense at third base. And of course, this is a Dusty Baker team, and many people are starting to ask, is Dusty Baker the missing ingredient from a franchise that has somewhat underachieved over the last 4 seasons? There he is in his first year, his 21st year as a major league skipper. Taylor's at first. Jose, fastball, a strike inside part. 1-2.
Rendon is one of those players that I think kind of flies under the radar. He's solid in pretty much everything he does. He's solid at the bat, handles the bat well, great defense, but it doesn't put up those huge numbers that some of the guys do. You just don't really think about him, especially when you got this guy hitting behind you, Bryce Harper.
Rendon was college baseball's player of the year. Got a lot of hardware out of Rice University. Dick Hauser Award, Baseball America's Player of the Year. And the one thing scouts always talked about was his swing path. And he's noted for keeping the barrel of the bat in the hitting zone longer than most hitters. What exactly does that mean?
That means that you're not creating a V, so to speak. When you're entering the strike zone, you're staying through it like you're almost hitting a ball that's in front of the baseball that you're actually hitting. They try to teach me that in golf too. When you're hitting a driver, you try to swing at a ball that is even actually in front of the ball that you're hitting. So his bat path, his barrel of his bat stays through the strike zone longer because I think of his extension after he gets through the ball. George Brett, a guy that I played with, George Brett was probably the best that I've ever seen as far as bat path through the strike zone.
Check swing went around. Breaking ball. Haven't seen many from Fernandez. And he gets a strikeout.
Yeah, you see this. You know, Rendon is geared up for a fastball, 3-2. Jose bringing up their 95 miles an hour. He might have to cheat a little bit. And you see he just committed too much.
That is his first breaking ball of the night. Through one changeup to Michael Taylor. And here is Bryce Harper. Now, I know it's just 11 games, but Harper, 458 on base, 897 slug. 3 doubles, 6 homers. Homers in 4 consecutive games. He's not had a lot of success against Jose in terms of damage. 3 for 10, all singles. Taylor the runner at first. Start number 3 for Jose Fernandez. And he misses up. And it's 2-0. I mean, it just seemed like a few days ago he hit home run number 100. And that was a grand slam.
I agree. I did hear about the 100th home run grand slam, and then today, you know, we get the press that he's player of the week and he's hit 4 in a row, and I just.
Yeah, he's on 103 right now. And there's the changeup. It's a pitch that Jose really polished in his rehab from Tommy John. The last pitch they let you throw is the breaking ball, so Jose figured I'll just work on the changeup until I get the green light for the breaking ball.
And it's become an extremely effective pitch for him.
2-1. Harper a high fly ball, shallow right center. Ozuna's there, and Marcell Ozuna makes the catch. So out number 2 for Fernandez, and that brings up Ryan Zimmerman, the Nationals' cornerstone, so to speak. Fernandez with a smile.
I think he knew he might have gotten away with a slight mistake there. He knew that Harper was not too happy that he missed that pitch.
Now Zimmerman. And a strike. There aren't many Nationals that have gaudy numbers against Jose. See, Zimmerman had a hit in that series up in Washington, D.C. And that one's fouled back. Zimmerman is 3 for 8, and that's probably the best as far as numbers for Nationals regulars. Jose has made 6 starts against the Nationals. He's 3-0, and his ERA is under 1 at .98.
It's pretty good, right?
It is.
Zimmerman battling many injuries over the last few years. He used to absolutely kill the Marlins. Before here at Marlins Park, he's been a cornerstone for this organization for a long time. Has signed a long-term deal, but with all the injuries, moved him over from third base to first base because he's having shoulder problems, and career lows last year in average and on base percentage.
Jose Fernandez is in the house, and he gets through the first with a pair of strikeouts. Nationals Marlins fish coming up. Game. Jose Fernandez gets through the Nationals in the top of the inning. Marlins lineup in the bottom of the first. And it's brought to you by UHealth. D. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Martin Prado, 5-game hit streak against the Nationals. And very good numbers against tonight's starter, Tanner Roark. Christian Yelich, outstanding in left so far. Giancarlo Stanton struggling right now. Justin Bour's not. Marcelo Zuna in center. JT Realmuto will do the catching. Danny Echeverria in that 8th spot. And Jose Fernandez in the 9 spot. Tanner Roark. All 6'2", 235 pounds. To the plate with a fastball that misses up to D. Gordon. Marlins saw Roark back on April 7th. Beat him 6-4. Got 4 runs, 9 hits in just 4 innings. And Gordon smacks one into center field. That's a base hit. Good sign from Gordon. A leadoff hit. Nationals defensively, brought to you by Southwest Airlines, Mr. Conine.
Yes, sir. Jason Worth in left, Taylor in center, Harper in right. You got Zimmerman, Murphy, Espinoza. Look at the beard on Espinoza. That's awesome. Rendon at third, Ramos and Roark.
Espinoza last year showed up with the bushiest mustache you've seen since the Klondike.
That's exactly what he looked like.
And this year he went with the biggest beard you could find.
He's kind of like is it Homer Simpson? The shave, and then as soon as he walks out the door, it pops up.
Here's Martin Prado now. Gordon's running. First pitch, fastball. Ramos throw, other side of the bag, and a stolen base for Gordon. It's his 4th of the season. That didn't take long. And Wilson Ramos is a very good catch and throw catcher.
That was a pretty good delivery to home plate. D. Gordon gets a great jump. Pretty good release. Throws a little bit to the shortstop side, but I think D would have had it anyway. I love to see the aggressiveness. First pitch, get things in action. I think this offense right now kind of needs something like that to get the little spark going after a pretty poor Atlanta series.
Of course, it also takes a veteran hitter at the plate with the awareness of that's a great jump, I'm not swinging. Martin Prado is off to a very good start here in 10 games. 381 on base, 447 slug. You saw the 342 average. 1-1, and Roark spins back towards second. The Marlins, I mean, the biggest question right now is, who is this team? Is it the team that went up and played the Nationals very well? Won one of those 2 games, had a chance to win the second, and then went to New York, won the first 2 games, and had a great opportunity to win the third. In fact, if D. Gordon's ball that bounced off the second deck was 10 feet to the left, the Marlins would have won that third game. So that shows you that the team can play well, because DC and New York, not easy in the East. That's right back to Roark. Or, of course, is it the team that just dropped 3 in a row to the Atlanta Braves?
Well, you see Martin Prado here. He's trying to get the ball over to second base to move D. Gordon over to third to get him in scoring position or at third base with less than 2 outs. Great try by him. He ended up getting out the end of the bat, but I think this team is still trying to find itself a little bit, get its feet underneath them. I do not think they're the team that lost 3 straight to the Braves this weekend. I think they are more the team that we saw on the road trip. And as this season gets going a little bit and everyone settles into their roles and their positions, I think we're going to see a very competitive Marlins team.
Christian Yelich has been a shining light in Miami's lineup from the very start of the season. A lofty on base at 5'11". That's second in the National League. That's a balk. You can hear the first base umpire Trip Gibson yelling. Gibson calls a balk. Gordon trots to third, and that changes the whole at bat now for Yelich. Let's see if he moved.
Yep, you saw it right there. That's a good call.
The reaction by Roark was he heard someone yell, "Step off." He was starting, I think, his delivery. He heard "step off," and it's a balk. There's Gordon. Infield's in for Yelich. And a pitch from Roark misses up.
Yeah, Christian Yelich has just continued what he started last year at the middle of the season. Injured for the first 2 months of 2015 when he finally got healthy back on the field. He showed why the Marlins made the commitment to him.
And he makes the commitment to left field and sprays one into left. A base hit by Yelich. And Miami's on the board. It's 1-0.
Gets jammed a little bit here, but he puts the ball in play. He does not strike out. He's going to work the count and give you a good at bat every time. And here, because the infield's in, but he would have scored the run anyway. But great at bat by Christian Yelich.
Not a guy who panics at the plate.
He really doesn't. You know, I'd like to put a heart rate monitor on him at the plate. I don't think he'd get above 60 ever.
All right, Jeff Conine, professional hitter, card-carrying member of the Hitters Guild. What is going through Giancarlo Stanton's mind the last 3-4 ball games?
Well, I think that's where it is. That's where it all stems from, is in his mind right now. I think his timing is a little bit off on the fastball. So as a hitter, you want to try and get things started a little bit earlier to catch up to a fastball. You see they've been pounding him in a lot with fastballs, and they go away with breaking stuff. So I think in his mind, to get to that fastball, I've got to start earlier. Well, that takes your concentration away from being able to see a breaking ball correctly, and that's why he's been swinging so many breaking balls out of the strike zone.
Have heard the term over the last couple of days that he's late. What does that translate to in your hitter vocabulary?
Yes, that means so front foot might be getting down a little bit late, so that means the whole chain of command as far as starting your swing, you can't do anything until that front foot hits the ground. And if that starts late, then you've got to rush everything else to get to the baseball. So I think he's kind of almost in a panic mode when he finally decides to swing. It's got to be quicker than he normally is. And when he gets that figured out, the lower half figured out, I think everything else will be fine.
Barry Bonds, Frank Menachino been working hard with him. Bonds will join us live in the 3rd inning tonight. Yelich, good lead. 2-1 coming to Stanton from Roark. Miami's on the board. Stanton takes outside. Now the other thing is, we've seen this from Giancarlo. We've seen him go into 3, 4, 5 game funks where he looks lost. His last couple of bats last night were better ABs than he had early in the game and the previous 2 days. And we'll see if that's a sign of him coming out of it. Fastball in. That's a positive sign.
That's definitely a positive sign. And almost when you take a pitch, it's almost better than taking a good swing. And you look at, traditionally, Giancarlo Stanton is a slow starter. You see April and May's differences. 253 career average in April. Last couple Aprils he was pretty good, but before that very slow. And then he really gets it going as the weather heats up. Giancarlo heats up. So May and June are big months for him.
All right, one of the questions we've asked is, when will infield stop really overshifting for Justin Bour? And the answer is not tonight. The Nationals have 3 guys over on the first base side. Bour pulls a ground ball, and Zimmerman looks at second and steps on the bag. I'm not sure if he couldn't get him at second or didn't feel comfortable making that throw to second.
I think Giancarlo might have had his lane blocked when he came around for this baseball. Did you see the shift? 3 guys on the right side of the field. I don't know. I think he might have had enough time to get that ball to second base.
A big out to get for Roark. And Bour is out. Here's Marcell Ozuna with an opportunity to make a real impact early in this game.
Ozuna, another hitter, I think, right now that's struggling because of mentally he's just not seeing the baseball the right way. You saw him in spring training, had tremendous spring training, hit the ball to all fields with power, and I think that's because he was relaxed. The games don't mean anything there, and now when the season starts and something all of a sudden you got to flip that switch, and now it means something that he's playing a little bit too tight.
In the dirt, nice block by Ramos. You got Yelich and Stanton out there. Yelich an RBI single. Inning open with a D. Gordon base hit and a stolen base and a balk to third and a 1-0 lead. to ease Ozuna's mind, so to speak. Don Mattingly moved him from the #2 spot back down into the order in the 6th spot. So he didn't have to worry about, is D. Gordon running? Am I getting a fastball?
And we heard Don Mattingly talk about that in pregame, that, all right, so the second place hitter is supposed to be known as a guy that can really handle the bat to move runners over. But in his mind, after the first inning, anybody can play that role. Anybody can move a runner over. But I think with Marcell getting up in that first inning, that might have been a factor in his slow start.
Pitches out. Look, the landscape of baseball is littered with hitters who, when they're moved into the 3 spot or the 4 spot or the 2 spot or the 1 spot, feel that they have to become something they are not. They don't, but explain that to them, and it's a hard canyon to get over psychologically.
It is, because, like we said and Mattingly said, is that there's certain roles, so to speak, in spots in the order.
Into left center field. That one's hit well. Yelich scores. Stanton scores. And that will ease Marcell Ozuna's mind.
That's outstanding. Good hitting right there. And because he took a couple good pitches, good breaking balls, he stayed on this one perfectly. Look at the breaking ball. He waits on it, lets it travel a little bit. That's a good pitch. I think Tanner Roark would be very happy to throw that pitch every pitch tonight. So that's a good sign that Marcell Ozuna stayed on that and was able to pull it in the left center gap.
And Miami, on a Jose night, has put 3 up here in the first inning. Now Real Muto. He takes a strike. Bonds and Stanton talking. And of course, Bonds, I would expect, talking about not only the walk, but also how that walk felt and how Stanton looked taking pitches during the walk. And here is Real Muto. Remember, Bonds is a guy that walked 2,558 times.
Remarkable.
And one of the things that, having watched Bonds play a lot, that was always impressive is Bonds never, when he took his walk, he never, glared at the pitcher like, well, I want you to pitch to me. It's just like, hey, if you want to walk me, I'll go.
That was his thing. The pitch recognition by Barry Bonds is probably the best I've ever seen in a hitter. You never saw him take any check swings. I mean, I don't think I ever saw the catcher point down to the third base umpire and say, did he go? Because he never took a check swing. He recognized the pitch so quickly out of the pitcher's hand that he knew that he was going to swing or not.
Ozuna, good speed at first. And Real Muto bounces it out to second. Murphy waits, gets the out, inning over, but Miami puts 3 on the board in the first. Tonight against the Nationals. Tomorrow night, big discounts for the Marlins and the Nationals. The new Steals and Deals Tuesday offer. Big discounts in most seating categories on Tuesday home games. So tomorrow night, 7:10, go to marlins.com and you'll get your Steals and Deals. Big discounts for tomorrow night. Daniel Murphy, Jason Worth, Wilson Ramos. In the second, Jose Fernandez, a leadoff walk, and then nails from there. Fastballs like that on the black. 94 miles an hour. He punched out Rendon and Zimmerman. Got Bryce Harper to fly to shallow right center. Murphy continues to hit. In the air and down the line, in trouble. Yelich. It's a foul ball by
I don't know, man.
maybe
Hey, I don't know.
10, 12 inches. That was close. Actually, less than that. That may have been on the line. Better look here.
I think it was just foul, but boy, that was close.
That is something the Nationals can review if they want. Murphy is stalling and making sure that his video room gets as many looks as possible, because that's extra bases for him if it's a fair ball. Dusty Baker's going to challenge. This is somewhat of a gamble this early. Is there enough? This is enhanced. Wow.
That's about as close as it gets. Is it enough to overturn? That's the question. That's an odd angle. You can't really tell there. I think the angle we just saw when they slowed it down.
Look, it's right up against the line. If it clips the line, obviously it should be a fair ball. Is there enough video evidence to say that it did get the line? Clear and conclusive. So Dusty Baker throws his challenge out there at the top of the second. Oftentimes teams that are not challenging will call their video room just for a little sneak peek and say, what do you see?
Daniel Murphy, see the look on his face. He's like, hey, I might have a double out of this.
That's right. And would you rather get a double like that or have to stand in on a 1-2 pitch to Jose?
This is a trick question. I think I'm taking the double. And I think he's thinking that too. I don't want to see a 1-2 pitch from Jose. But we talk about Bryce Harper being so hot and doing everything. Daniel Murphy is quietly leading the league in hitting right now at 432, and we talked about this earlier, how he always hits.
1-2 then, right?
It's a foul ball. Jerry Lane, the crew chief, on the headsets. And so the call stands. The challenge is gone. And since the call stands, that tells us that there was not clear and concise evidence to overturn.
Yeah, going back to my point, this guy hits everywhere he goes, Daniel Murphy. The Mets, he pretty much put him through the playoffs last year. He homered in 7 postseason games last year.
Daniel Murphy, 3 homers in the division series, 4 homers in the NLCS. He was the MVP of the NLCS. If Yoenis Cespedes put the Mets in the postseason, Murphy put him in the World Series. And he pulls it on the ground. Gordon has it on to Bour in time to get the out. So a long at bat for Murphy, a near double. Jason Worth, Wilson Ramos are also scheduled to appear here in the second. Not a full schedule in baseball tonight. Mets and Phillies are at it. And it's 1-0 Mets. Bottom 2. Here's Worth. Of course, the Phillies beat the Nationals yesterday, finishing off the series up in Philadelphia. It was a 10th inning win by the Phillies. Nationals actually had a 2-1 lead in the 10th on a Harper homer, and Jose hits Worth. He's not all that pleased. Fastball in. Hit Worth on. It sounded like it hit that pad, but that still can't feel good.
That still can't feel good. Right on the back of the tricep there. That could pretty much paralyze your arm.
And here is Ramos. Ramos is having an outstanding year at the plate and behind the plate. He is 1 for 8 in his career against Jose Fernandez.
Ramos currently 3rd in the National League in hitting right now at .389. And you always wonder, I think first thought in baseball now is to say, oh, was that intentional? Did he actually try to hit Jathan Worth intentionally on that pitch? I don't think so. I mean, usually you go to precedent, or if something happened last time they played. I don't think there was any beef going on between Jason Worth and Jose.
Breaking ball gets away from Real Muto, and Worth moves up to second base. Worth was hit by a Jose pitch last September. D. Gordon and Worth in a discussion right now. Strike to Ramos. It's 2-2. They're your batting leaders. Jeremy Hazelbaker, St. Louis, in there. We were talking about him yesterday. There's always a couple guys at this time of the year who pop in that you really haven't heard a whole lot about. And Hazelbaker certainly qualifies for the Cardinals. Ramos not a guy that you expect to see in that list either. Breaking ball, bouncer. Prado looks Worth back. He goes to first in time to get the out. And here comes Danny Espinosa. Well, one question for the Nationals is, how do they replace Ian Desmond? And rather than go out and get a shortstop that could hit, they went out and got a second baseman who could hit and moved their second baseman to shortstop. And that was Espinosa at second last year, at short this year. Very good defender. We were talking about his photo on photo day. Now, photo day is at the very start of spring training, so players show up. And Espinosa, in 2 consecutive years, has really worked on his look and been ready for photo day.
That's tremendous. The
big mustache 2 years ago, and that beard this year. He is yet another shortstop out of Cal State Long Beach State, your neck of the woods.
Yes, indeed. Espinosa, really early in his Nationals career, showed some big power, especially for second base. 20+ home runs. Since then, the average has fallen and the power's kind of tapered off a little bit. Like you said, they got rid of Ian Desmond last year, who had a subpar year and went in-house with Espinosa at shortstop. It'll be interesting to see if he continues to struggle with the bat, if the defense is good enough to keep him out on that field.
Marlins will put him on and face Tanner Roark. Marlins will see another dirt bag in San Francisco. That's the nickname of Long Beach State's baseball program. Matt Duffy of the Giants from Long Beach State as well. Roark muscles up down the line and deep, curling and foul. That was nearly a 3-3 game. And Real Muto, that ball didn't bang foul for long, and Real Muto was already at the mound. 94 miles an hour.
And he turned on it. It's elevated a little bit in the strike zone. He looked where Realmuto is setting up, was down and away. He slides off that left wall there. It wouldn't have enough to get out, but that had double written all over it. It was fair.
It's a healthy cut for a big man. Roark fouls it off. It counts 1-2. Nationals trying to get back those 3 runs. Miami getting them in the bottom of the first. The one thing the Nationals have done is run Jose's pitch count up. It's 44 pitches now. And remember, he was up over 50 after 2 innings in the start against the Mets. He lasted just 5 innings.
Yeah, 24 strikes, 20 balls. That is not a Jose-like ratio. Usually he is mid-60s to even 70% strikes over balls.
Okay, outside of the telecast, you were looking for fastball command. How would you score it?
I still think it's iffy tonight. I really don't think that he has made his fastball pitches where he's wanted to. He's got good results, but I think he's throwing a lot of balls with fastballs that normally he'd throw for strikes.
Breaking ball, and Worth is going to take third.
Jason Worth gets a good break right here. He sees the Realmuto, the catcher, goes down on the knees to get that ball, and usually cannot throw out a major league runner if you could go down to your knees at all. So I like when they just take off.
Fastball in, and Jose has walked Roark. So the hit batter, Espinosa's walk was intentional. Roark is walked here, and Juan Nieves is out trying to get Jose back online. You can see how high he was with the fastballs on that at bat.
Yeah, that's not Jose. Usually he is down in the strike zone. Does not make too many mistakes over that white part of the plate, and this is not the fastball we normally see from Jose.
Dusty Baker, Don Mattingly. Dusty's got that trademark toothpick, and the wristband's going as well. Taylor takes a fastball up, and it's 1-0, and now there's got to be some concern in Miami's dugout. The pitch count is up, the fastballs are up. The breaking ball is in, and nothing is working for Jose Fernandez.
Now it's almost even. 25 strikes, 24 balls in his 49 pitches thrown.
Fastball fouled back.
And I think Taylor knew he was going to get a fastball there. He knew that Jose's been struggling with his command. He let it fly. He was looking to do one thing with that 2-0 fastball.
Good sharp breaking ball. And the count's 2-2.
You hear a lot of in pitching about pitching downhill and getting your arm at an arm angle where you're kind of, it looks like Jose's pushing it. It's almost pushing it up.
Two. Ball strike ratio this inning. Pitch number 31 coming. Breaking ball, another ground ball foul. Boy, you think you're the Marlins and you've lost 4 in a row. You were swept by the Braves. And you put 3 on the board with Jose on the mound. But here are the Nationals. You see the bags are loaded. Worth, Espinoza, and Roark. The Nationals are just a swing away from erasing what you would think would be enough of a lead with your ace on the mound. Got it. Breaking ball. Hernandez strikes out Taylor. Jose not happy with himself. He's out of the inning, but the pitch count is up 3-0 Miami.
Español a través del SAP y es presentado a ustedes por Kendall Toyota y West Kendall Toyota.
Well, this is not your run-of-the-mill 3-0 lead for Jose Fernandez, who struggled in the second. He's walked 3. He's hit a batter. He has 3 strikeouts. And he's thrown 54 pitches in 2 innings. Denny Echeverria against Tanner Roark. And Echeverria lines one into left field. That's a base hit. A breaking ball from Roark. And Jose coming up now. Miami's 4th hit against Roark.
Yeah, not a bad pitch either. Echeverria gets around it, gets it off the end of the bat, breaks his bat. Tell you what, he's been a pretty impressive performer in that 8th position. We talk about positions in the order. That's a tough position to hit in, as number 8. And he's done it very well.
Jose trying to bunt, takes a strike. Fish trying to push Echeverria to second for Gordon and Prado. The headlines for the Nationals are Bryce Harper is homered in 4 straight. Nationals are 9-2. Great start. Aside from Harper, though, some big reasons why. Starting pitching. The starting pitching for the Nationals has been dynamite. Marlins will see Steven Strasburg tomorrow night. Jose's bunt, a short one. Ramos going to second. That might be a review of the neighborhood play out at second base. Remember, you can review the play at second. Espinosa making the pivot. Don Mattingly says, hold on, we're looking at it right now. Haven't seen it reviewed yet this year, but this might be an opportunity, and Don Mattingly says, let's look at it.
Yeah, from the naked eye, he looked like he left that bag way too early. And now with the new slide rule, he's supposed to make contact, stay on the base. Absolutely has to be on the base when he receives the throw.
All right, another look.
Not even close.
And it looks like he's off. And it's a clean slide by Echeverria straight to the bag. And that's the reason the neighborhood play is now reviewable. Echeverria knows you've got to stay on the bag this year. Watch his reaction. Edge is saying safe.
I would think this would be a pretty quick decision from New York.
Well, it's a big call that would put runners first and second with the top of the order coming up. Backup glove.
He's on the base originally, but he comes off the base, and as soon as it gets in the back of the glove, he is off the base. With the new rule, he is supposed to be on the base until that ball hits the back of the glove.
And by neighborhood play, the old rule was, and he is safe, the old rule was if you were in the neighborhood, not necessarily touching the base, they would give the second baseman or shortstop the benefit of the doubt for safety reasons, because runners are coming in trying to get you, and they allow a little more time for the fielder to get off the base and protect themselves. But with the new slide rule, that's no longer an option. First time we've seen it.
Pat Shine down there in the video room for the Marlins.
He's having an outstanding season.
Another one. Way to go, Shiner.
Now D. Gordon. Gordon takes a fastball for ball one. A single, a stolen base, moved up on a balk, and scored on the Yelich single. That was D. Gordon's first, and here he is in the second for his second at bat.
And that's a pitch that Tanner Roark really needs to be effective, is that inside tailing fastball to left-hand pitcher.
Gordon to right, hits it well. Oh, Harper makes the catch. Echeverria tags. That's a terrific catch by Harper. Gordon hit it about as well as you would want.
Boy, there aren't too many other right fielders, I think, in the league that will get this. He broke in a little bit. D. Gordon, not known for hitting for power. He absolutely smokes this ball. And Roark is breathing a sigh of relief that he got that, because that's 2 runs if he doesn't get it.
All right, interesting spot here. You've got a guy that hits a lot of ground balls in Prado. You've got your pitcher at first. You don't want Jose running. So you're vulnerable to a double play here if you're Miami. Prado, a veteran at the plate. Let's see if he adjusts. He tries to put this one into the air and into the outfield. Ouch. That one went into his foot.
Hurts.
He has what looks like a guard on the shin, and the ball knocked it right off.
Right in the middle of the guard, thank goodness. Those do not feel good when you have no guard on.
There's a reason he places it just so, right?
Exactly, and unbuckled it, hit it so hard.
Ball and a strike. Ramos captures it, and it's 2-1.
See what Roark's trying to do here. He's trying to induce that ground ball to the third baseman. Hitting that, trying to hit that inside fastball tailing in so he put it on the ground. Prado's looking for something over the plate he can put in the air.
Down low. Jeff, what's your scouting report on Tanner Roark?
Well, like we said, mid-90s, four-seamer fastball. His two-seamer's probably 90 to 92, 93. A big Muhammad Ali fan, if you didn't know.
It's brought to you by Auto Nation.
And career 2-5 against the Fish. They're talking about that tailing fastball that he likes to throw inside. We call it the Greg Maddux fastball. That Greg Maddux made so effective and famous is that the tail's over the inside part of the plate, but it has so much break on it that a lot of left-handed hitters will just give up on it. Roark has a pretty good tailing fastball to use it to the back door to a right-handed hitter, but tonight doesn't have a good movement like he normally does.
Roark ready. Diving stop, Rendon on his feet. What a play. Marlins get a run, but Rendon steals extra bases from Martin Prado.
Wow, what a play. We talked about how good an all-around player Rendon is. You see this ball smoked down the line. It was almost by him, and then gets up and throws a perfect strike over to Zimmerman.
That's one of the things Dusty Baker said he's learned about one of his players over the last 6 weeks, spring training and into the regular season. Talking about Rendon, he said, man, that guy can pick it.
Just a good all-around player that you just doesn't grab the headlines, so you don't think he's really that good, but he really is. Good player.
Here now is Yelich. One of the weird dynamics this year with Yelich in the 3 spot, Stanton hitting cleanup, is you would expect pitchers to pitch to Yelich and cautiously to Stanton. But it's Yelich who has 11 walks. Stanton has 7, and at times over the last week, pitchers seem to be more cautious with Yelich than they are with Stanton. You would think that'll all work out, but in the meantime, Yelich is having a terrific year. Takes a fastball for a strike.
A lot of times they'll have the meetings before the game and they'll pick out one player or 2 players that this is the guy that's not going to beat us, and a lot of times that's going to be Stanton. But when he's struggling as badly as he is right now, I think I'd be more worried about what Christian Yelich can do to me than Giancarlo Stanton.
Yelich an RBI single in the first and an off-speed pitch from Roark, and it's 2-2. Barry Bonds will join us next half inning. And for his hitters, a good start, a 4-0 start against Tanner Roark and the Nationals. 2-2 coming. Jose Fernandez at second. Yelich takes in. And now at 3-2, Stanton's on deck. You would expect.
Got caught a little bit of the plate there.
Yeah, that's
a strike.
It is. You would expect something good to hit. Great pitch, breaking ball, and he strikes Yelich out. So Roark strikes out Yelich. Coming up, Barry Bonds. We'll talk hitting. Marlins hitters. 4-0 start for the Fish. Marlins hitting coach joins us. Barry, thanks for joining us. Good night so far for the hitters. How have you seen the first 2 innings?
I think they've been doing really well right now. You know, everything starts with our leadoff man, and D. Gordon started it off. And, you know, we need to get Ozuna in there a little bit. Let me move this way because Lowe just got in the way. And, you know, I think that overall this year, guys have been swinging the bat pretty well. You know, we've run ourselves into a couple of rabbit chases that we had to chase and stuff, and it gets hard as an offensive team when you got to, you know, you get some runs and then you give runs back and then you have to chase again. So it's all right. It's April. It's early. Teams all go through this, and right now I like what I see.
You talked about Marcell Ozuna. He had a terrific at bat, a 2-run single. What have you tried to impart with him, and what have you seen the first 2 weeks?
Well, I think, you know, in spring training he did pretty well. He was, you know, he was slowed down a little bit. We had to slow him down. You know, today I worked on, you know, just him slowing his rhythm down. I think he was just too fast, speeding up too fast, and, you know, trying to get there too much, too many moving parts into a swing. So just go back to the basics, slow down, and use your hands a little bit better. And as you see, he finally got to that slider that he's you know, used to go get all the time.
Barry, I know the heart of this lineup, everyone talks about Giancarlo Stanton and how he's going through a little bit of a slow time right now. How much of it is a mental thing to you? How much do you work on his psyche at this point?
Well, you know, with G, you know, so much expectations on him and stuff, and, you know, you just got to get him to relax a little bit, use his hands more, and not put so much pressure on himself. You know, he's got into an early situation where, you know, he's had a chance to pull us out of some bad innings and stuff and win ball games. And, you know, that happens to every great hitter. You know, I believe in him. He works super, super hard. And, you know, I'm glad that it's in April and it's not, you know, in August and stuff like that when we, you know, hopefully we be in a pennant race and, you know, we really need him. But right now I'm not really worried about him. I just want to, you know, just have him believe in himself and just relax up at the plate.
Jose Fernandez facing Bryce Harper, and that's a strike. Now, Bryce Harper's a guy you've had a chance to see up in Washington, D.C., and yeah. I saw you guys were chatting today at batting practice. He's a fun player to watch and just so young and talented, isn't he?
Yeah, when you got a player like that's so young and won MVP, you know, that, you know, you just say, wow. You know, it takes a lot of us. You know, Jeff knows as well as I do that, you know, there's a learning curve in baseball, and, you know, it took me 4 or 5 years to get to that learning curve. You know, with Harper, it's just taking him a little bit less time, and I think Carlos Stanton's got the same kind of ability over here for us, and, you know, we're gonna get him right. But I ain't rooting for Brian Harper. I'm pleased with what I see, though. But I'm not gonna root for him right here.
Hey, are you having fun? I mean, this is for you the spring training, and now 2 weeks in. Is it fun? Is it everything you thought it would be?
You know, I'm having such a great time. It's such a learning experience for myself. It's good to be back in the game of baseball. It's so much fun to be out here. You know, like I said, Miami has just opened the front door for me and has just welcomed me so well. I've had such a great time here. The ownership's been great. Coaching staff's been great. And the players have been great. They've been working really hard, and they've made my job a lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Barry.
All right, thanks,
Barry.
guys. Enjoy it.
Barry Bonds, good stuff. Nice battle here. Jose Fernandez, Bryce Harper. Fastball up. And a walk. You heard the crowd really get in on that breaking ball that missed. That was pitch 5, and you can see on Fox Tracks it was in. Not by much, but it was. And so Fernandez, the other part of this story here, along with the Marlins getting 4 runs, is Fernandez pitch count. It's at alarmingly high at 64 now. Zimmerman lifts one in the air. And Jose is in need of some quick outs.
We talked about in pregame show was that you're happy with the relievers ERA right now, 5th in the National League at about 3.25. Starters ERAs up in the mid-5s, 13th in the National League. And one of the reasons why you want starters to do better is to keep that bullpen fresh, because they have had a lot of short starts. They've given up a lot of runs early with high pitch counts. So a lot of innings have been thrown out of that Marlins bullpen.
Juan Nieves hoping that Fernandez can get through this third without using up another dozen to 15 pitches. It's 1-2, 4-0 Miami.
Marlins starters are last in the National League in innings pitched.
And Zimmerman goes down on strikes. Five strikeouts for Jose. If you can't watch the games on TV, you can now stream games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in, stream the Marlins wherever you go. Murphy bounced to second. Swing and a miss. Now in the Murphy at bat in the second, he lifted a line drive down the left field line that looked like it landed right on the side of the foul line. It was called a foul ball. Dusty Baker chose to challenge, and there was not enough evidence to overturn the call. Out to Etch. Nationals lost their challenge, and the inning is over, and Jose gets out at 69 pitches. A 4-0 Miami lead. On top, bottom three, Marlins Park. Giancarlo Stanton, Tanner Roark. This is the second meeting. Roark walked Stanton back in the first. Shift is on the infield. Three infielders to the third base side of second. Stanton looked very comfortable walking in the first.
Yeah, I was about to comment that sometimes what you don't swing at can almost make you get into a rhythm and get into a groove. And what we saw was Stanton took a couple of pretty good pitches in the outside part of the plate that he's been swinging at as of late.
Counts 3-0. And oftentimes you'll hear hitters say that to get out of a slump, a few walks can provide a pathway.
Well, you heard Barry say, you know, you try to slow him down, meaning Ozuna, meaning Giancarlo, try to slow him down. So that just means patience. Get some patience, slow your body down, control your thoughts so you can focus on the baseball, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Took a rip at that pitch that was in, and Stanton smartly trying to slow Roark down. Fastball bounce third base side. Rendon across the diamond in time. 1 out. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Hey, Rich, thank you very much. We've talked a lot about Justin Bour's approach this year and some of the success he's been having. Has been hitting the ball to left field. As you've seen on this chart this year, 6 of his 9 hits to left side of the field, whether it's through the infield or into left field. We saw a line drive out to left center last night. So I asked Justin about that today. He said one point he wanted to make was he does not look at the infield before he comes up. He said he's just trying to hit it wherever they are pitching it to him, and he's been able to take advantage of that. He says he understands last year did not do that quite as well, but he told me it's always been part of his repertoire to hit the ball the other way, not like that. That's a little, excuse me, swing that he's going to go out, but he's been happy with his approach, and the Marlins have too. Don Mattingly really impressed with that scorcher that hit the left center of the ball game last night, guys.
Craig, and that's one of the things I remember Frank Menachino talking to Bour last year and telling him, if you're going to play in the major leagues and be a regular, you're going to have to hit the ball in the left field and find some hits out there. He's taken it to heart. He's taken it to the next level this year.
Well, and because of the shift, he's probably been given 2 or 3 of those hits that he's gone to left field, because when they vacate the premises, they put the third baseman all the way over on the right side of the field. He's had a couple ground balls that would probably be outs if the fielders would have stayed put.
We saw Bonds and Stanton talking. Barry Bonds talked about Marcell Ozuna last half inning, getting him to relax, and he drilled one in the gap to left center for a 2-run single in the first. I think the one thing Bonds said a week ago in New York, Al Leiter and I were chatting with him, and he said, you know what, when people ask, hey, have you had a chance to work with this guy, you're going to change this guy? He says, look, he said, everybody bleeds, and when a hitter bleeds and needs help, he'll come to his hitting coach. Ozuna cranks one to right center, and Harper reaches and makes the catch. On the track, 390 feet from home plate, Bryce Harper runs down Marcell Ozuna's long fly ball. 4-0 Miami. Last September, Jason Worth clipped by that fastball. Why are you staring at me? Jose said, well, you're looking at me. That was the extent of that. Tonight, first at bat, and Worth got hit again. And Worth glared at Fernandez. It was earlier in the ball game. Jose with a fastball up. Of bigger concern right now for Jose Fernandez is trying to get through 5 innings and not blow through 100 pitches.
Which he's going to have to get some quick outs or pitch to contact here. He's already at 73. And his current pace, he might be at 100 by the end of this inning.
So 1 for 14. Last 2 at bats he's been hit, and he has a home run. And that counts 2 balls and 2 strikes. Worth, Ramos, Espinoza in the 4th. Jose 5 strikeouts, 4 walks, and a breaking ball missed someplace.
That's a good pitch.
So Jose's done everything except give up a hit.
You see number 5 on Fox Tracks is right there on the corner.
Struck him out. Breaking ball, Worth.
And another perfect pitch, just catches the inside part of the corner, number 6 there on Fox Tracks. You see, he went away with a breaking ball. This one, front door. Late break on it. I can see as a hitter you think that it went around the plate, but Fox Tracks had it in there.
6 strikeouts, 4 walks, hit batter. So the Nationals have had 5 base runners and no hits.
And this, you know, we were talking about how poorly this outing might be for Fernandez with the pitch count and a kind of an erratic fastball, and he's still got the best all-around offensive team probably in the National League with no hits.
Well, you look at his 2 starts. I mean, his first start, in which he gave up 5 runs, 13 of his 17 outs were strikeouts. His second start, admittedly, didn't have his best stuff. We talked about fastball command, didn't have that. Threw more than 50 pitches in his first 2 innings. He gave up 1 run, and the Marlins won the ball game, though he did not get the win.
Part of the difference tonight too is that a lot of his breaking pitches that he uses as those swing and miss strikeout pitches have been so far out of the strike zone that they've been able to take them. But that one right there was a perfect example of that swing and miss outside the strike zone strikeout pitch.
7 strikeouts tonight. Wednesday night, every child 12 and under with a ticket will receive a coupon for a free KM Beef Frank bag of chips, small Pepsi or Aquafina. Marlins.com for tickets. Don't miss Kids Eat Free Wednesday. Now Espinoza. Intentional walk back in the 2nd. Up the middle. Gordon there. Flips to first in time. Jose Fernandez, a 1-2-3 4th. His first 1-2-3 inning. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Checkers, fast foodies know the deal. and by your South Florida Chevy dealers. Gorgeous night in Miami tonight. A little cornhole going on just beyond the Budweiser balcony. Jose Fernandez right now a 4-0 lead. Marlins Live is tomorrow. Craig Minervini will be joined by Jeff Conine, who won the tie competition tonight, by the way. Tomorrow night is a very special Twitter Tuesday. It's a Cuba-centric show. Baseball in Cuba. Fox Sports sent a contingent down there.
And you know what, Rich? Lo and behold, my wife is in Cuba right now.
Seriously?
As we speak. Yes.
Really?
Went down there with a group of 12 women from Fort Lauderdale as a kind of a culture club that they get together every couple months, and they had an idea to go down to Cuba.
Real Muto sneaks one down the right field line. He's not stopping. Harper's throw on the money. Safe. Bang, bang. Remember, as the Nationals pointed into the dugout and said, hey, look at that. They don't have a challenge left.
They can look at it all they want, but they can't challenge it. JT Realmuto, we know he has great speed. He makes this double happen right out of the box. He's going for it right away. Bryce Harper makes an absolutely amazing play. You see him turn, flip, and make a throw right. He missed the tag. I think he put it right in the middle of the bag, and JT put his hands right on the either side of his glove.
What a rocket of an arm.
That was phenomenal.
From Harper and right. So Realmuto has a double. It's funny to watch Tanner Roark. There's the play. Watch Roark. All right, challenge, challenge. And you know what?
Yeah, look at it. Look at it. Oh, nope, sorry.
That went on for about 45 seconds, and the Nationals had to tell him to get back up on the mound and start pitching again. It was finally Rendon that yelled at him and said, hey, we don't have a challenge.
Tremendous play by Bryce Harper. Tremendous hustle by JT Realmuto, getting in scoring position.
Echeverria, Espinosa thought about it, on to first and in time. Wow, not often do you see a shortstop think about going, not go, and then be able to get the out at first.
Yeah, that was remarkable. You see Roark is planning on trying to pitch him to the left side just so Realmuto can't get to third base. I think he couldn't get a glove or a hand on the ball correctly. He had him, and then throws a perfect strike over to first base to get Echeverria, who can run pretty well.
Now Fernandez can handle the bat. Realmuto, the runner at third, and the infield's in. Jose swings and misses.
Just looking in this situation for Jose to put the ball in play. Put the ball in play with the infield, then good things can happen.
Roark misses in. Jose 1 for 3 this year. Last year he had 3 hits, including a homer. He homered back in 2013.
This is tough as a pitcher when you don't get many at bats. Roark knows that he's going to be throwing some nasty stuff here, trying to go for the strikeout, so he doesn't get a chance to put the ball in play.
Slow tapper. Espinosa backing up, gets the out. And here is Gordon. Barry Bonds, our guest last inning, said that Gordon had the best swings of the night, and he smoked a single to center and then hit a bullet to right that almost got over the head of Harper.
Harper's made 3 pretty outstanding plays in right field tonight. Taking that hit away from D. Gordon, tracking down Marcell Ozuna's drive last.
Gordon bunts, Roark gets the out, and the inning is over. Miami leaves a runner at third, and after 4, it's 4-0. Four nothing, Marlins on top. Jose Fernandez has not given up a hit, but that line score doesn't even begin to tell the story of Jose tonight. Fastball a strike to Tanner Roark. It's not been an easy night for Jose. He's battled himself. He's battled the Nationals. He's battled Jason Worth. 7 strikeouts, 4 walks, a hit batter, and a whopping 84 pitches. Starting this inning, a fastball Roark is late on. It's 1-2. And the competitor that Jose is, he's thinking, you know what, I need to get out of this inning in about 6 or 7 pitches, and that means I can pitch the 6th. Roark goes down.
Which would be great because of what we talked about earlier, and the starters not going very deep into games. There's been a number of starts already in this young season that the starters are out before the 6th inning. Like I said, the Marlins last in the National League in innings that the starters have given them.
Michael Taylor gets into one and drills it in the gap. First hit for the Nationals. It hops off the wall. Ozuna picks it up. And a double for Fort Lauderdale's Michael Taylor. And that brings up Anthony Rendon.
First pitch trying to get me over for a strike breaking ball, and Taylor was waiting for it, and he absolutely smokes this ball.
He's a good-looking young player, a guy that the Nationals are high on, and they should be. Into center, Rendon with a hit. Ozuna's got it. Stop sign is up, and the throw comes in at the corners with 1 out. Bob Henley, the third base coach,
pretty much, I think, partly on the reputations. Taylor's got great speed, but Henley knows that Ozuna has an outstanding arm out there in center field. I don't know what he was looking at halfway to third base there. He's kind of glancing over his right shoulder.
So it sets up the Harper at bat. His third at bat of the night. Fly to center, shallow center in the first, walked in the third. co-player of the week with Nolan Arenado in the National League. In the Phillies series, he was only 7 for 11 with 3 homers, and he drove in 6. As we talked about on Marlins Live pregame, he's homered in 4 consecutive games, drives it to right, but Stanton has room. It's deep enough to give the Nationals their first run, and Taylor will score. Harper just missed. Home run number 7. Not in terms of distance, in terms of ball on bat.
Yeah, I think first at bat he missed a fastball that Jose missed on location. He wasn't too happy about that one. This one, almost same place. And I think the Marlins can breathe a sigh of relief that they've only given up 1 run on that swing.
Ryan Zimmerman has struck out twice. Jose Fernandez has 8 strikeouts, has walked 4. The Nationals have their first 2 hits and their first run here in the 5th. As I noted, not a big schedule around baseball. Noah Syndergaard is throwing for the Mets. It was a Fernandez-Syndergaard matchup the last time out. Remember, that was a 1-1 game that the Marlins won 2-1. 1-1 when Jose left. Echeverria. Gordon is there in time to get the out. Nationals get a run. Jose's through 5, and Miami's up 4-1. Camera 12, ladies and gentlemen. Last one on Saturday. Big Papi and the Red Sox, who went down this afternoon. The Boston Marathon and all of that. Patriots Day in Boston. It's the Red Sox, Jose Altuve and the Astros, 3:30 Eastern on FS1. Discussion first with Don Mattingly, now with Juan Nieves. 92 pitches, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts. Martin Prado against Tanner Roark. Miami with the meat of the order up here. Prado, Yelich, Stanton, and if anybody reaches, Justin Bour. Halfway through in Miami tonight. Rich Welts, Jeff Conine, and Craig Minervini. Bouncer in the hole, Espinoza, and catch, no tag. As the ball trickles out of the glove of Zimmerman, that'll be a base hit for Prado.
Another tough play in the hole there for Espinoza. Has shown some great arm strength tonight. See him leaning. He's over at the 3rd base hole at the very end and almost gets there in time to get Martin Prado. That is a scary play for a seasoned first baseman.
played that position. For Zimmerman, who's still learning the nuances, that's not an easy catch, tag, get the heck out of the way. As Cliff Floyd, right?
Yeah.
Cliff broke his wrist on that play, unfortunately.
Yeah, I came close a couple times, but you learn to maneuver your body in a way that you can absorb that hit rather than get it head on like Cliff did.
Yelich RBI single in the first, struck out in the second. Tapper up the middle, might be two. Espinosa got the ball and the two. He's really made a nice transition from second to short. Wednesday is a Chevron Crazy 8 Wednesday. It's the day that drives Jeff Conine crazy. That's Wednesday. Niner will fill up his car with Chevron with Techron gasoline and bring his ticket to the Marlins Park ticket office. And he gets to choose between 2 Lexus Legends level tickets or 1 home plate box ticket for just $28. Check your local Chevron dealer today. And then Niner at that point realizes he can get in for free because he's working for us. That's why it drives you crazy.
It drives me crazy. Way ahead of the game.
Stanton now drives it, center field. Taylor after it at the wall, gone.
That's what we're talking about right there. That is a perfect Giancarlo Stanton swing.
Welcome back. He was gone for about 4 or 5 days, and now he drives it to right center field.
90 miles an hour in. I'm going to say it's quite a bit more than that on the way out. We talked about his patience. He's took some good pitches. Today you see him kind of throw that thing down there. His guard saying, finally, I finally stayed back on a pitch and drove it the other way. Wow. That's not a strike. You see where the location was set up? He wanted it in, well in, off the plate. He ends up pulling over the middle, and Giancarlo made him pay. Just makes a different sound, doesn't it, Rich?
Yes, it does. He's back. He's back. It's good to see. Now Bohr on a breaking ball in. It seems like the Nationals have attacked Bohr in more than other teams have over the last couple of weeks. So they play him to pull, and they're pitching him to pull.
Which a lot of times on some of the Ryan Howard, it doesn't matter where you pitch him. That's where they're going to play him all the time. And we talked about when are they going to possibly not do the shift on Justin Bohr, because he's gotten most of his hits to left field against the shift.
Struck him out. Bohr goes down. Marlins get a run. Giancarlo Stanton snaps out of it with his 3rd homer of the season. might be looking at the center field wall. The new dimensions here at Marlins Park. We really haven't seen them come into play, but Jeff.
Right now, I think that's pretty much in play.
That would not have been a home run last year.
You see the line there where they put the new plants in front where the new wall is, and behind it is the wall where the old fence dimensions were. And I believe it hit that back wall, which would have kept it in play.
Yeah, the new plants are in front of the old wall, which is painted black back there. The plants, they give them another 4 or 5 months, probably fill in quite nicely. Line drive, because that's what Daniel Murphy does. Into right. Stanton picks it up. Jose Fernandez back out there for the 6th. That's significant. Murphy a hit. You got Jason Worth, Wilson Ramos, Danny Espinosa. Bullpen action. So the pen is ready if Jose's inning gets extended. Worth hit by a pitch in the 2nd. None too pleased about it. And then called out on strikes in the 4th. A breaking ball. Worth didn't like it. And while his head is down, you know he's muttering to the home plate umpire.
Probably have a pretty short leash on Jose Fernandez this inning. 95 pitches right now. I don't think they really want to go too many over 100. So with the bullpen getting hot and Jose at 96 now, he's going to need a couple of quick outs.
Brian Morris in Miami's pen. Worth lifts it foul and out of play. That Mets-Phillies game has reached the 7th. 2-1 Mets. Mets are 5-6. The Phillies are actually a game under 500. They are at 6-7. That's strike 3 called. Fernandez strikes out Worth for the 2nd time.
Good that front door breaking ball. Same pitch he got him with last time up. Froze Jason Worth.
9 strikeouts for Fernandez. You know, it's amazing. You look at his line. He's up 5-1. He has struck out 9. Yet if you've watched the game, you've seen he hasn't had command. He's walked 4. He's hit a batter. Wild pitches. He's got 2 wild pitches.
Struggled with his pitch count, although he's about 62% strikes now, but earlier in the game he was at 50 and struggling with that.
We should all be so lucky to be so good when having a bad day or an off day. It's probably a better way to put it.
Having an off day and still able to dominate first place team. See, pretty efficient since the 3rd inning. First 2 innings, as he did his last start in New York, really killed him with the pitch count.
Breaking ball taken to right. Stanton there makes the catch. Throw to first and just back in with a head first slide is Daniel Murphy, who nearly strayed too far. Tomorrow night, the focus, Cuba. Baseball's final frontier. And it'll be really fascinating to get your tweets and emails and your feelings. Marlins Live is a show you don't want to miss tomorrow night, because that's got a lot of really cool features, footage. Fox Sports with a baseball documentary coming out. Sent a crew into Cuba, and of course the Rays went down to play the Cuban national team, and Fox Sports also had a group with cameras on that trip. And Jeff Conine, your wife, now have you talked to her since she's been in Cuba?
I have not. I've got secondhand text is the only thing I've gotten so far from her.
What's a secondhand text?
Well, Alfie Mesa, that
Yes.
works for the Marlins here, obviously knows a lot of people down in Cuba, and he got a text from her somehow that he forwarded to me because my phone wasn't turned on to iMessage. So,
Gotcha.
My fault.
Having a good time. Jose Fernandez through 6, a 5-1 lead. Marlins on top. The 5th run came on a Giancarlo Stanton home run. And out in center field somewhere is our Craig Minervini.
Rich, Marlins Park is still a big baseball park, and one of the most significant changes they made this year was lowering the fences down to 7 feet in the corners and about 8.5 feet in the area I am, and of course bringing it in from about 11 feet. As you see, the ground ball at third, and Rendon will throw out Ozuna. They took it in about 11 feet from center field, but it angles to my left to where it comes back to 392 where it was last year. In this area, it estimated it's probably 6 to 7 feet closer than it was last year, and it certainly appeared that Stanton's shot this year would not have been a home run last year. But it does bring up the point that people said, well, this is not going to be a difference for Giancarlo Stanton. Well, Stanton last year, talking to him about this, said, you know, I can every now and then get a wall scraper home run too. And you say he's the guy with a lot of power here with Bohr, also Ozuna probably. Maybe it'll affect even more because these balls that he hits deep in this gap area might go out now. So don't think this is not going to help Giancarlo. But I don't think overall it's going to make a major effect on home runs this year. You might see more go over the short wall than out in this area.
That is quite a poke, Craig. And
yes.
How about the fans out there with their reaction?
Yeah, they said actually some thought it hit. Is there padding on the back here? They thought it hit the padding and then went into the shrubbery. It was coming right at this gentleman here. Were you worried?
Oh no, I wasn't. I was trying to catch. I was making a decision if I should reach over and catch it or get out of the way.
We're glad you did. All right. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Craig. 2-0 pitch to Real Muto. And he bounces one to Rendon. JT Real Muto is out number 2. Nationals getting a start from Tanner Roark. He's into the 6th inning. Jose has gone 6. And with the bullpen still working, a sure sign that Jose's night is over. And here is Echeverria.
Yeah, and he's talking about wall scraper home runs. Giancarlo, his wall scrapers are like the ones that would go through a wall because he hits them on a line drive.
Well, I mean, you're talking about his wall scraper home runs. That area right up there, as you see down the section of the wall, that white, and if you go back to that last shot, the white contraption below there, those are the grow lights that the Marlins grounds crew will pull out and put on the right field area obviously you need sun to grow grass, and in retractable roof ballparks, the biggest challenge is getting enough sun on all of the grass to grow. So in all those parks, grow lights will help you. You can roll those out, flick them on, and it gives you a little extra light and a little extra juice for that grass. Pitch is in, and Echeverria walks, and here comes Ichiro. This series is a 4-game set, and it ends on Thursday in the afternoon, a 1:10 start. And seniors 55 and older can get free tickets with ID on Senior Free Ticket Thursdays, presented by Wellmax. For more information, go to marlins.com today. What a day yesterday for Ichiro, who came in the ball game in the 6th. This, the single from the 9th inning. A liner into left with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 9th, and that tied the game. Marlins came all the way back from 5-0 to tie it. Ichiro with a stolen base.
Number 499 of his career. Chasing 3,000 hits. 10-time Gold Glove winner.
Ichiro in the air to center, shallow. Caught there by Taylor. Miami done. 6 innings in the books. 5-1 Fish. This date, Marlins history, 2014, Giancarlo Stanton walked off against Seattle. Grand slam here at Marlins Park. Brought to you by Geico. Here tonight, Stanton is back in his groove. He's homered. His 3rd of the season. Miami, with a 5-1 lead, turns it over to the bullpen. And Brian Morris. And Jeff Conine for the Marlins, especially on this homestand against the Braves. In a 3-7 start, including 0-5 at home. When the Marlins have hit, they haven't necessarily pitched. When the starting pitching's been good, the pen has faltered a bit. When the pen's been really good, it's because the starters haven't gone deep. They really just haven't been able to put it all together. Here's an opportunity. Matt Den Decker's at the plate. Jose Fernandez hoping that the pen can hold it, and Miami can get their first home win.
Yeah, Barry Bonds was talking to him on the way out to BP today.
Edge. Oh, nice pick and throw. Danny Echevarria.
Outstanding. I thought he was going to catch it on the fly, and it almost went like, no, I'm going to let it hit the ground and make a spectacular play. He makes it look so easy.
That is anything but. Anything but.
Anything but. Trust me, that was a spectacular play. That ball has got some serious spin on it as it's going through left-handed line drive like that, and he catches it behind it, basically makes a perfect throw.
Top of the order, Michael Taylor. And Echevarria's had a bit of a rugged start defensively, though. He's thrown 3 balls away. He's got 3 errors. All of them throwing errors.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of Etch to make those errors. I remember one of them was a fairly easy throw, too. I think he just relaxed too much on it and ended up getting away from him. But I think overall, at the end of this year, we're going to have another finalist for the Gold Glove at shortstop in Echevarria.
Next opponent for the Marlins has the reigning Gold Glove winner at shortstop, Brandon Crawford, Giant shortstop, won his first last year. One, two.
Oh, to your point before, Barry Bonds told me, he's like, now we can play baseball. We're playing first place team. He thought that the Marlins would pick up their game against a better team like the Nationals coming into their home plate. Leading me to believe that he felt that the team kind of let down a little bit with an 0-9 Braves team that came in on Friday.
Is that indicative of a team that is learning how to win or trying to figure out how to win? I mean, Miami's last winning season was 2009. Don Mattingly used to winning as a player, as a coach, and as a manager.
Yeah, I think it's all the above. I think it's a learning process for everyone in this field that has not been in a position to win as a Marlin. And like you said, 09 was the last winning season. It takes a lot of little things over the course of a season to win ball games. They say you're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60, meaning you're going to win by enough margin that it's not going to be that close. You're going to lose by enough margin that close. It's those other 40 games is what really makes your season one way or the other. And those are the games that the Marlins are going to have to learn how to win.
Slice to right. Taylor has his second hit. Stanton hasn't. Now you get into Rendon, Harper, Zimmerman, and Murphy. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority. The Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts, descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Anthony Rendon, an RBI single in the 5th. The Nationals didn't have a hit until the 5th. Although I doubt there were a lot of people that called, tweeted, or texted around to their friends and said, hey, Jose Fernandez is no hitting the Nationals. Just because it was so messy when he got to the 5th. The 4 walks and the hit batter.
I wonder how it was when AJ Burnett threw his no-hitter and walked 9 batters. That seemed like a no-hitter.
You know, in talking to Dave O'Brien and Tommy Hutton, who called the game on television, I think there was some of that 7th or 8th inning, or 6th or 7th inning probably. All of a sudden, it dawned on everybody that, hey, he hadn't given up a hit yet.
Because there have been so many base runners.
Pitch misses outside. Now, I don't know if that's the famous Jay Randolph game or not, which instituted the Jay Randolph rule. Jay used to do the pregame show.
I remember Jay.
Also liked to go to the racetracks.
I do remember that too.
So occasionally do the pregame show and go to the racetrack. But probably headed up to Del Mar.
Del Mar for the surf
with
meets
that
the
one.
turf.
But the rule was make sure there's not a no-hitter in progress before you go to the racetrack. There's a pitch. It's up. The throw is in time and out at second is Michael Taylor. Fastest pop time in baseball last year for all major league catchers, JT Realmuto. And pop time is from his glove to the glove at second.
I was about to ask you if you could explain that, because I just came through all the youth baseball, and of course they measure pop time from the catcher, and that's exactly what it means. As soon as it pops in the glove, the time that takes to get down to second base, JT Realmuto is number one and throws an absolute perfect ball right there.
The major league average is 1.97 seconds for pop time, and Realmuto's average time last year was 1.86. So that's more than 1/10 of a second below the major league average. And it may not sound like much, but when it comes to save for out at second base, it's a lot.
It definitely counted on that one right there.
Rendon blasts this one to center. Ozuna after it makes the catch. Brian Morris with a little help from his catcher gets through the seventh. Sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. Game summary. Marcell Ozuna, line drive single that drove in two. Giancarlo Stanton, a home run to center. Jose, not the most efficient, but certainly effective. And a 5-1 lead here in the bottom of the seventh inning. Tanner Roark is out for the Nationals. There's been an Oliver Perez sighting, and here he is at Marlins Park. So Perez, who I think has lasted longer in the big leagues than many people thought he would, with the back to the plate. He's always had a lot of moving parts, almost a Dontrelle Willis-like delivery. Of course, that delivery became problematic at times for Dontrelle. For Perez, it did as well, and he battled those demons going down to the minor leagues as a Pirate, as a Met. But since 2012, he's been up in the big leagues and getting outs as a middle reliever. Rendon makes the catch on the Gordon pop-up.
Yeah, just as a hitter, if you've got so many moving parts as a pitcher, it's tough to find that exact release point, you need to throw strikes. And when a hitter has that many moving parts, it's tough to get that barrel into the zone at the exact time that pitch is coming in.
Martin Prado has a hit, an RBI. Yelich behind him if anybody reaches. Stanton, though it's doubtful Stanton would face Oliver Perez. Perez out of Mexico, he's 34. Signed a 2-year deal with the Nationals. And he's a guy, Jeff, that has, like I said, embraced that middle relief role. He was a starter up until 2010. And since the 2012 season, he was in the minors all of 11. Since 2012, he's not made a start. Seattle, Arizona, and a bit with Houston at the tail end of last year.
I actually played with him my last year, big leagues with the Mets in 2007. One of the few guys that I've played with that are still around, Nick Markakis. We were just playing against the Atlanta Braves. I played with him his rookie season in 2006 in Baltimore.
Strike. Full count to Prado at 3-2. Come on, there's more guys than that.
No, there probably are, but it's getting thinned down pretty quickly.
Check swing, no swing.
The guy in this team, Matt Belisle. I played with him my last year in Cincinnati.
Very nice.
Relief pitcher, right-hander.
To show you the value of a guy like Perez as a middle reliever and the middle part of his career as a, would you call him a back of the rotation starter?
In his prime?
Middle of his career.
Yeah, I would say he's a 3-4, yes.
There's Yelich. And he takes in to show you the value of a guy like Perez. His career number 67 and 83, an ERA of 4.44. He's made $54 million.
Signed a big deal with the Mets. I believe they gave him 3 years for 36 after one of the years he won 15 games. And that was right before you said he was not a starter anymore.
Yeah, Nationals signed him for 2 years, $7 million. Yelich pulls ground ball in that hole for a hit. Prado stops at second. Don't often see Yelich take a shot at that hole on the right side, but it really looked like he was trying to spin on it.
Yeah, there wasn't really good contact on this pitch from Perez, but a little 3-hopper gets right through the infield. You gotta love being a left-handed hitter sometimes.
And as we expected and suspected, Oliver Perez will not face Giancarlo Stanton. Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Bobbleheads all lined up. Giancarlo All-Star bobblehead. He's really been searching for the swing until his last at-bat, and he found it. He also blasted one about 415 feet to center field. Got a nice greeting from his hitting coach, Matt Belisle. Now, Jeff Conine's former teammates is in the ball game.
Giancarlo Stanton, see if he can build off the good at-bats he's had so far tonight. Saw him take a few breaking balls that he's been swinging at as of late, took them, and got a walk earlier in this game, and then last time up took a slider from Roark and put it in the new planter out in right center.
Stanton drives that into right field. That's a base hit. Round third. Here comes Prado. Yelich to third. Stanton will hold first. Throw behind him. He's out. Stanton says he's safe. Marlins have a challenge. And the lead is now 6-1. Well, the walk was a great sign that Stanton was feeling more comfortable. He bounced out in the third. A solo homer in the fifth and an RBI single here. And let's see if he survives this challenge.
It's another slider on the outside part of the plate. Yesterday, day before yesterday against the Braves, he was swinging right over that pitch out in front. He stays back just long enough, got up the end of the bat, but stayed in just long enough. It's a nice little line drive single there.
All right, from that look, not a real clean look here. It's a good look.
I might agree with Mr. Stanton on this one.
Daniel Murphy. Oh, he never tagged him. He never tagged him.
This should be a quick one too, folks.
Yeah. You know, they just handed out National League Player of the Week, and it went to two guys, Bryce Harper at right, Nolan Arenado, the Rockies third baseman. If they were to give a replay coach Player of the Month, Pat Shine in the Marlins video room would be hands down the winner. One of the best in baseball. His numbers have proved that over the last few years. Now, the last look we saw was pretty definitive, right?
Very definitive. It should not be a very long decision process on this one from New York. Yes. And like you said, these video coaches, they've got literally 30 seconds to analyze every angle that they have in the video room and make a decision to relay to the field that you've got to challenge it.
And what we mean by video coaches, each major league team has a coach or video technician in their replay room that sees the same views the umpires do in New York, and that's how you decide whether to challenge a call or not by that coach's decision. Now, some teams at the beginning just had guys that weren't real baseball coaches. They were video technicians. The Marlins went with a guy like Shine, who has a real nice baseball background. He's a college coach, and it paid off early on, and it continues to. I'm not sure why they're still looking at this.
I mean, it's not even close. Maybe they're going through the other 8 views instead of this that we just saw.
Not sure, or they're getting up to speed on scores from around the league.
Oh, it's
from the umpires.
Luckily, it's a light night, light schedule.
Yeah, I mean, they may be saying, hey, we got a really good one with the Mets right now. Syndergaard's on. You should see him. Oh, by the way, he's safe.
Listen to you.
And of course, the strategy of challenges, maybe for Dusty Baker, as he's back in the managing game, you've got to get up to speed with it. Remember the challenge he made in the second inning on a line drive down the third baseline that was called foul, looked close. He challenged and lost his challenge. And another play later in which the national players on the field turn to the dugout and say, hey, challenge it. The Nationals were without that challenge. So here's Bohr. Nice night for the Marlins, 6-1 lead, but for Bohr, an 0 for 3. He was called out on strikes his last time up. He's bounced to first and a check swing bouncer back to the mound. Infield shift over to the right side. Bohr hits a pop-up that will find the seats. I think one of the teams that you want to count on the surprise list is in action tonight. The Rockies are 7-5 and are beating the Reds 5-1 in the 8th in Cincinnati. Speaking of Nolan Arenado.
And of course, the big story out of Colorado is
Trevor
Story.
The next Tulo, they hope.
It's a good comparison. If he could be the next Tulo, I think they'd be very happy in Colorado.
Bohr pops that one up.
Had 6 home runs in his team's first 4 games of this season. First time in Major League history. Added 1 more. He now leads the league with 7. Bryce Harper is right behind him with 6.
He's homered tonight off of Ross Ollendorf. Sorry, I didn't have that box score pulled up. And Bohr goes down swinging. So Belisle goes in to get the strikeout of Bohr.
Good pitch by Belisle. It's a little cut fastball slider on the inside part of the plate, right underneath the swing in the hands of Justin Bohr.
Now Ozuna. 2-run single. Nearly hit it out in the 3rd. Harper made a catch about 390 feet away in right center. He flied to center.
You're Justin Bohr there. 1st and 3rd, 1 out. You really got to try to put that ball in play.
Ball and a strike. We were talking about Giancarlo Stanton and how a walk kind of helped him find his stroke tonight. Marcell Ozuna this year has walked just once. 12 strikeouts and 1 walk. And that's telling because it illustrates, as Barry Bonds told us, that Ozuna hasn't been comfortable, and it dictates on how pitchers in the scouting report attack him because they know he'll chase. Ozuna to center. Taylor there, and he makes the catch. RBI hit for Giancarlo, and it's 6-1 Miami lead. Our inside look brought to you by the all-new RAV4. Since Since 2005, how many ex-teammates are on that list?
One for sure, and two. I think I played with Nick Johnson at one point. Wow.
Bryce Harper at the very top. David Phelps is in for Miami. Miguel Rojas, as the Marlins will bring Rojas in defensively, and Phelps arrives here in the 8th. 6 innings of Jose Fernandez. Gave up a run on 3 hits.
I tell you what, Rich, crack staff is doing some impressive investigative work this evening. So I said there probably weren't many guys left that I'd either played with or against, and since I retired, 138 players still playing currently that I either played against or with.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did they get there that quick? That's a foul ball over Rojas' head. Matt Belial. It's not the senior league. That is Matt Belial.
Teammates. Cincinnati Reds.
Austin Kearns, no, yes.
Against, did not play with him.
He wasn't a Red when you were a Red?
No.
Bouncer to Gordon, and underhands it to Rojas. Well, David Phelps, you talk about things that have gone right this year for the Marlins. Phelps coming back from that odd injury, the stress fracture in his elbow. Gave up a couple of runs against Atlanta, and those are the only runs he's given up all season.
Yeah, Phelps been a great story of this bullpen. It's a 94 miles an hour in his fastball. I think being in the bullpen, he started 15 or 16 games last year, so the velocity wasn't quite what it is coming out of the pen. You can let it go a little bit further. So
is by Rojas. Stanton picks it up, and Ryan Zimmerman's got a single.
But good deception in his motion. I think his 92 to 94 mile an hour fastball actually looks faster than that, the way the hitters react to it.
Here is Daniel Murphy. This is going to be an interesting series from here on out, especially tomorrow night. Steven Strasburg with a 2-0 record and a shiny 1.98 ERA. But Adam Conley gets the start. Conley looked really good his last time out. There's your starters.
Yeah, Conley was outstanding last time out. 6 innings. He struck out 9 batters in his last start. Strasburg, minuscule 1.98 ERA. He's always
jab shot. Echeverria has it. There's 2 outs. So Strasburg tomorrow against Conley. Strikeout numbers, and remember, Conley pitched just an inning in that rain shortened, or I guess rain delayed game, which knocked him out of the start after just an inning. Game 2, Wei-Yin Chen pitched well his last time out for Miami. And the secret weapon that no one's really talking about, Joe Ross, was 2-0 with an ERA of 0.61. Goes for the Nationals. Tom Kohler, Max Scherzer on Thursday afternoon.
Well, you look at the names they run out there: Strasburg, Scherzer, Ross coming out of nowhere. It's no wonder Washington leads the National League in pitching ERA by a wide margin, 2.06 coming into this game in the National League. Almost a half a run better than the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Gio Gonzalez has a minuscule ERA.
He's below 1.
But does not have a win yet. Oh, 2. The starters combined coming into this game, 7-1, a 1.87 ERA for Washington. Worth 0 for 2, pair of strikeouts. Dusty Baker and the Nationals 9-2. New pitching coach Mike Maddox. A swing and a miss. Phelps strikes out Worth. A scoreless 8th. (6-1) Miami on top. Bottom 8, Marlins Park. Rich Waltz, Jeff Conine. Start of the night, the talk was, can Giancarlo Stanton find his groove? And can Jose Fernandez get the Marlins a win? So far,
well, we don't think that Fernandez had his groove. He was kind of all over the place around the strike zone quite a bit, but lo and behold, after 5 innings, Washington Nationals have no hits. Giancarlo Stanton, early on this game, he took an excellent walk, laid off some very tough pitches that he's been swinging at as of late, and lo and behold, 2 hits and a few RBIs later and a home run.
We had Barry Bonds as our guest, and a couple of guys that he also pointed out had really good starts to this game. D. Gordon, who set the tone with that single and the stolen base, scored a run in the first, and Marcell Ozuna, who had maybe the biggest hit of the night, the 2-run single that gave Miami the cushion.
That and sent Bryce Harper to the wall in right field, almost a home run from Marcell Ozuna, and the last time up, a nice solid line drive to center field. So a lot of positive things happening tonight with the Marlins hitters. You like to see them get on track and start hitting the ball hard all over the place. I tell you what, the Marlins hitters have maybe the most wealth of knowledge as far as a coaching staff than maybe anybody in the big leagues.
Without question, because you've got a manager who was a hitting coach and a great hitter. You obviously have Barry Bonds. You have Frank Menechino, who's done a nice job as a hitting coach for 2 seasons. Tim Wallach, who was a terrific hitter, and the all-time pinch hit king in baseball history. If anybody has any questions about pinch hitting, that's the guy. Lenny Harris.
I mean, you've got every aspect of the game covered with that coaching staff. You've got Lenny Harris. We need to talk to him about hitting off the bench. Of course, he does it. He did it better than anybody else in the big league, in big league history. You've got power. You want to talk power? You got Barry Bonds, hit more home runs than anybody else in history. I mean, it's just a dynamic staff. Frankie Menechino has really gotten the trust and of these players behind him. He really knows the workings of how to put together a great at bat. I think he's done a fantastic job.
And if there are any doubts, and if you need one more opinion, you can always, during batting practice, turn to the back of the cage and find Andre Dawson or Tony Perez or yourself.
Man, just a lot of hits and RBIs in that group.
Tomorrow night, our special Cuba edition of Email and Twitter Tuesday, Tony Perez will join us. I believe he's the only Hall of Famer born in Cuba. The only Hall of Famer to play in Major League Baseball that was born in Cuba. 3 from the Negro Leagues in the Hall of Fame. Eduardo Perez will be the analyst tomorrow night. And of course, Eduardo went down to Cuba to call that game, the Rays game against the Cuban national team. He called that game for ESPN. He'll be here tomorrow night as the analyst, and his father, Tony Perez, will come in as well. So a lot of different perspectives on not only baseball in Cuba, but life in Cuba. And we'll have a couple of generations to speak to that tomorrow night. Rojas, his first AB, used Mero Petit, and Rojas gets himself a hit to center. You can follow Marlins Baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment with Game Day Live, game video highlights, StatCast, news. Just download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Gordon's roller over the middle, and Espinosa gets to the bag and hops over the runner. Petit, a scoreless 8th to the 9th. Marlins trying to finish it. Taste of Miami out in left field.
I'm hungry, Rich.
Late night munchies, place to go. Here tonight, Jose Fernandez went 6 innings, gave up a run, didn't give up a hit until the 5th, struck out 9, was wild early, walked 4, hit a batter. Brian Morris, David Phelps with a scoreless inning in relief. Kyle Barraclough out of Miami's bullpen. Barraclough gets the 9th. Guy that the Marlins are counting on to pitch like he pitched last year. Barraclough's rookie year last year made a nice impression, a nice debut. Yesterday, an inning against the Braves.
Nice power arm. They got in a trade, I believe it was Cishek last year. Going from the Cardinals out of Double-A, comes straight to the big leagues, and yesterday was showcasing that power arm and a really good slider too. 3 strikeouts, struck out the side for his inning of work against the Braves.
Wilson Ramos is 0 for 3. Ramos Espinosa 9 spot for Dusty Baker's Nationals.
Dusty Baker.
Etch to his left. Rojas with the catch. And Ramos is out.
It's amazing. My dad accompanied me to one of my first All-Star games in 1994. And Dusty Baker was one of the coaches on that team, I believe. And he met my dad during that trip, and he still, every time I see Dusty Baker, he makes sure that it tells me to say hi to my dad for him.
He really is an engaging man and a very good manager, a guy that I think when you look at his body of work, people say, well, he hasn't won a World Series. He took the Giants in 10 years to the postseason 3 times. In 4 years, he took the Cubs to the postseason. Obviously, they lost to the Marlins in that wild series. He took the Reds to 3 postseasons in 6 years in Cincinnati. I was looking last night in preparation for the series in San Francisco, and Bonds returned in uniform to San Francisco, which is really, we haven't really talked about that, but that's going to be something come Friday night.
Yes, indeed.
And that 2002 World Series that Barry Bonds was just unbelievable in that series, and that was a Dusty Baker managed team that lost in 7 to the Angels.
Yeah, talking to a few of the Nationals people before the game, they said just walking into spring training this year, there's a totally different vibe over last year. It was very relaxed. I think everyone played at ease. These players are, I think Dusty gets that moniker of a player's manager, but whatever that means, I think he just creates an atmosphere for a clubhouse that lets you be able to perform to the best of your ability.
Now, there is a schedule change here on Fox Sports Florida for our broadcast week. Wednesday night's game will not be on television. We have picked up the Friday night game in San Francisco, and that will be on Fox Sports Florida. So Wednesday, no television. Friday, now on television. Fastball zips in. And it's 3-2. Bearclaw trying to finish. And Espinosa lines it foul. Remember, the Marlins in Washington, D.C. won that Thursday game 6-4. Had the off day and then the rain out, and on Sunday came back. A tight game, a 1-1 game. The Nationals got 3 in the 7th and won it 4-2. To center, Ozuna has it fall in front, and Espinosa has a hit. These two teams will only play each other 19 times.
Only. Good fastball by Bearclaw there. Got in enough on Espinosa to get it off the barrel so he could get a little dunk single into center field.
Clint Robinson, who had a starring role in that Sunday win for the Nationals up in D.C., will pinch hit. Robinson in the 9 spot. Robinson had the 2-run hit in the 7th. It broke the game open a bit. Marlins Live. Craig and Carl will be out in center field. Jose back on track. We'll hear Carl Pavano's thoughts on Jose's start. Giancarlo Stanton homering to center, and it looked like the new dimensions actually helped him. It's, you know, here's the funny part of that is people are going to write, hey, the new dimensions helped Stanton. That's still a major poke. I mean, that's I don't know if we got a distance on that.
Well, it's over 392 there at the Miccosukee sign in the bullpen. It's got to be over 400 feet just to get it over the fence.
Yeah, my guess would be 415 once you get launch angle and bat speed, exit velocity.
And if you take just the gaps, I mean 386 and 392, you're not going to find too many places in the big leagues that have bigger gaps than those 2 places right there. Maybe Coors Field.
Well, the job of Bearclaw is twofold here. And in one of those 2, he's failed. One is to finish the game. The other is to keep A.J. Ramos in a seated position. Ramos is starting to heat up. And Michael Taylor is up right now.
Yeah, good point. When you've got a 5-run lead going in the 9th inning, you do not want your closer to get up at all, if at all possible.
Strike to Taylor, who's looked good tonight. Has doubled, singled, walked, and struck out.
It's nice to have Bearclaw at the back end of this bullpen where, you know, we saw last year, I think some of the arms were throwing mid to upper 90s. This year, with Phelps in there, Ramos is not, velocity-wise, is not throwing as hard as he used to. So you got Phelps at 92. Bearclaw is that one power arm that comes in and gives you that extra velocity that I think kind of changes things up in your bullpen.
High fastball. And there's 94 miles an hour. And a strikeout of Taylor. Anthony Rendon coming up.
Yeah, that's a tough pitch to catch up to, especially on the outside part of the plate. You see it just grazes the upper corner of the strike box on Fox tracks.
Brian Ellington, Jose Urena are the other 2 power arms, bullpen arms. Urena can start as well. And those guys right now in AAA.
Ellington.
Yes.
Throws mid upper 90s, yes.
Bryce Harper's run of games with a home run in danger of coming to a halt. That's a tough, I mean, think about the all-time record is 8 and Harper at 4, and it has a flavor in this ballpark. The last to do it was Ken Griffey Jr. to homer in 8 consecutive games. The guy before him was that man. Don Mattingly did it in 8 consecutive games. Dale Long also 8 consecutive games with a home run. It's a wild pitch by Bearclaw. There's your list. Now, just for fun, Barry Bonds is also in the ballpark. Bonds had a run of 7 games with a home run. was in April of 2004. And he also had a run of 6 in a row. So he came close. But Dale Long, Don Mattingly, and Ken Griffey Jr. hold the all-time record at 8. Rendon, we apologize for that. Ozuna makes the catch. Ball game. Miami wins it. And the Marlins have their first home win of the season. They snap a 4-game skid. A win for Jose, a home run for Giancarlo. A couple more hits for Christian Yelich. And the Fish improved to 4-7. And in the 3 meetings between the Marlins and the division leaders, the Marlins have won 2 of the 3. And the final is 6-1 Miami.